Welcome back to Curriculum Spotlight. This week's Spotlight is on Megawords spelling program. This program is geared for kids grades 4 through 12. So if you have younger kids and are looking for a spelling program, I do have a video about spelling workout, and I will link that up there and down below. Around the 4th grade level, schools switch from a learning to read to reading to learn approach, and Megawords has taken the approach that for a lot of kids who struggle to make that jump, it's because they need more explicit instruction on breaking down and decoding multisyllabic words. If you have a child for whom spelling and reading doesn't come very easily, this may be a great book for you. Even if your child doesn't struggle with those things, I think it's still a really great thing. But especially for those of you who have a child like mine, for that kind of stuff is just a really hard struggle, stay tuned because this might be a great choice for you. If you've ever watched a Curriculum Spotlight, it was inspired because when I am looking for something new, I want to be able to talk to someone, find out what they like about a program, what they don't like, how they use it, and if possible, look inside of it. Now, I can't hand you the book and look inside of it, and we can't have a live conversation about it, but I'm going to go through and tell you those things. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know down below, and I'll do my best to do this discussion part. And then when I'm done with the first part, I will turn the camera down and we'll look inside of it, and you can get a better idea of the program. This book is intended for kids grades 4 through 12. The books are $10.45 on Rainbow Resource, which I think is an excellent price for a year-long spelling program. And the teacher's guide are $12. I didn't purchase the teacher's guide when we did the first book in the fall, but after doing a little more reading, I think that it would actually be useful for me. So I'm going to go ahead and order that next time I place a Rainbow Resource order. Of all the programs we've used for spelling, my daughter says this one is her favorite. She is not reluctant to do it, so that is a huge thing. She doesn't love it, but she doesn't love spelling. She doesn't love reading. So for her to not be hesitant, but that's about the best I can get. So I'm happy with that. Other spelling programs that we have used include All About Spelling. We use those for books 1, 2, and 3, or levels 1, 2, and 3. They were great. I loved them. I credit that program for helping my daughter finally make sense of reading. But it became more teacher intensive than I could do with my other kids as well. So we switched to Apples and Pears, which was a great program, and I'm glad we did it. But then we finished the last book in the series. They take an approach of teaching kids the parts and then how to put those parts together. That is definitely the way it works best for my daughter, because rather than having to learn how to spell a 4-syllable word, if she just knows what each syllable is, then if she can figure out what those parts are, then she can figure out the whole thing. So that's one of the big pros to me, is that for a child for whom spelling doesn't come easily, it takes it into manageable parts. Another pro is that it's not babyish looking. So even if you have a middle schooler or a high school and you start back at book 1, it doesn't look any different than any of the other books. It's black, white, gray. There's no cutesy cartoons in it or anything. I don't know that my daughter would care, honestly, but I know that that's something for a lot of kids, especially if they're sensitive to being behind on that level. Another pro is I think the word selection is really excellent. They're not always more difficult words, but there's a lot of words that my daughter doesn't know. So it's really expanded her vocabulary to go through them in a way that I don't necessarily see in some other spelling programs that I've looked at. So I think that is a definite plus for us, especially because this year we are not doing a separate vocabulary program. So this is kind of substituted in for that. Final pro that I really think about is that I really love their explicit instruction, is how they describe it. I think that they do a really great job of breaking them down. They have a nice variety of different ways to practice with it. It starts off with kind of teaching the sounds that they're focusing on for the week, or the digraph that they're focusing on, and kind of starts very basic, and then it goes through and has, I'll show you when I look into it, but just lots of different ways of practicing with those. And then after they've practiced with them for several parts, then they move on to more of a vocabulary focus and sentence focus with them. So I really love the way they break it down, and then the different types of practice with them. Cons. The fact that a lot of the words are ones that my daughter's not familiar with is a blessing. I like that for vocabulary purposes, but it does mean that sometimes she gets really frustrated because in order to even figure out what to do with the word, she doesn't know what the word is or what it means. So on the first day of a new section, we go through the list, and I have her read the list. No, I read the list to her, then she reads the list, and then we go through and go over any words that she's unfamiliar with, so that as she moves in, as she starts the lesson, she has a working knowledge of it. The other real con I have with it is that there's not much review. In this book, it's every 2 lessons there's a review, but there's not a cumulative review, and that's where I think it's lacking. The other con is my daughter's complaint, is that each lesson is really long, around 20 pages. So it takes her a couple weeks or more to complete a lesson, and by then she's tired of working on the words. I like it for that reason. There's a lot of work with those words. I think it helps with mastery a little more for her, but I can understand that it would be really annoying to be working on those words for so long. As far as how we use it, like I said, on the first day of a new lesson, I read the list of words to her, and there are a lot of words in a list. Like, this is all the words for lesson 26. I read the words to her, then we go back through and have her read them. We go over any words that are that she's unfamiliar with, so we can discuss what they mean. And then after that, she does roughly 2 pages a day. But here's where I messed up. In my mind, I had it that Megawords 4 was 4th grade level. I don't know why I had it in my mind that, and when I looked at the book, I thought this is really hard for 4th grade level. But I had it stuck in my mind. So I sped us through book 4 in order to kind of catch up so we could do book 5 in this semester. And then I realized about halfway through that book that no, that it's the 4th book in the series, but not grade 4. So last semester she did 2 to 3 pages a day. This semester we're cutting that back, and we'll just carry this book over. But each day she has to read the list of words, and that's a struggle for her. Like, she hates to do that, but I insist on it. So she does that. I have been having her just read it silently, but I'm going to have her start reading it to me. I think that'll just help in a lot of ways for her. So this semester she's only doing 1 page a day. Last semester, like I said, she did 2 to 3 pages. It worked. That pace was fine. Like I said, it takes her about 5 minutes to do a page, roughly. So 10 to 15 minutes a day was what she was spending on it. Sometimes a little more, but that was our goal. Next year, though, I think we may switch back to book 3. I was looking at books 1 and 2 last night, and I think she has a pretty good grasp on those. Book 3, though, I think she could stand to review it. And since it doesn't really feel like, since that's not true for this series, I don't think it'll be a problem at all. A couple other things is that in the back, there are accuracy and fluency charts that you're supposed to do with your kids. I have not done it, and I don't really know why. It wasn't something that I intentionally did last semester. This year, though, I think I will, just to be very sure that she's progressing through it well enough. Since I don't grade this, I do look over it every few days, but not very closely, other than just to see if she's spelled the words correctly. So I'm going to start doing that accuracy and fluency charts just to make sure that things are progressing as I expect them to. Second thing is there is a research paper on their website, and I will have that link below, that goes into why they do what they do and how they do it, and their research behind it. I thought I got a lot of really good information and understanding about the program from that. It didn't take too long to read. It was maybe 5 or 6 pages, but it was really good and definitely well worth it if you are interested in the program. So I'm going to turn the camera down and we will take a look inside. Book 5, I didn't mention, is vowel variations. Each one has a theme that they use. So that is the theme for this one. And here's the index. For this one, they have ones working with O, with A, E, and then the vowel sounds of Y. And you can see there's reviews after 2 sets. So, first lesson, they give you all the words that you're going to work with. As you can see, there are a lot of them. So, even though you work on a lesson for a long time, at least there's a lot of variety. And in the beginning of a new lesson, they start working with all the different sounds and how they do it. It starts with just the pieces of each word. There is some variation within each lesson as to what the activities that they do, but it's the same basic layout of starting with the small pieces and practicing being able to identify what those each syllable makes. So syllable work and then more of it. This one they have to circle the right vowel combination, filling in the blank from the chart based on what the sounds vowel combinations make. This page they're doing vowel combination sounds to identify, you know, whether O says oo or ow or whatever, oi. So that's that. And then again, more practice with it. Then they kind of start moving into putting the syllables together. So this activity shows up in most of them, and they have to make words out of the 2 syllables. And this is the part when I mentioned about vocabulary making it difficult for my daughter. This is probably the biggest part where that is true, because if a word's not something that she knows, then putting it together to figure out what word it should be is difficult, but it's also really good for her. Down at the bottom, this one also shows up frequently and is a real tricky one for her. But they put the syllables in mixed up order and they have to unscramble them. It's good for her, but that, I'm surprised at how much of that's a difficult thing, but it's good. She's getting very good at it now, but it's just funny what things trip up different personalities and different learning styles. So as you can see, then as the lesson goes on, we start practicing with more with whole words instead of just each syllable. And then practicing with vocabulary and definitions on this page. And this one's in every lesson, and it's proofreading practice. So they have to find the 2, I think it's usually 2 words that are misspelled. I have Elizabeth highlight them. That's helpful to her to visually focus in on what words, and then they have to rewrite the sentence after they're done. And then this one is, they'll have a paragraph, or more than a paragraph, a short little story, and then so some reading comprehension work. And that the lesson. It takes her, depending on the page, roughly 5 minutes. That's what I allow for. I mean, she's in the fall, she did 2 to 3 pages a day, depending, and would take her between 10 and 15 minutes each time. And I think I mentioned that I also have her read the full list of words each day before she starts her lesson. In the back, there are sections that we did not do last time, and why I want to order the teacher's guide, this one, to help me be able to do these. But here's a page for them to fill in different vowel combinations with example words. There's an accuracy checklist for you to track how they're doing with the reading and spelling of the different words. And then there's a couple proficiency charts for you to check. And then the last page is a fluency graph for words per minute. When you have them read it. So there is Megawords spelling program for upper elementary, middle school, high school. If you have any questions about it, please be sure to leave me a comment below. I will do my best to answer them. And yeah, thanks for watching.